here we have an important matter, and it's about the miracle Aboagye arrest. It's interesting. I've looked at social media, and there are two main arguments on this matter. The first argument on the matter is that some people are saying that if somebody has misappropriated public funds, why don't you want him to be taken through the process? Why are you massing up at Yoko? Are you defending stealing? Is that what the MPP youth support base is about? Don't go to Yoko, wait and let Yoko finish their processes. Now, that's what some people are arguing they are making. There are others who are saying that, why do you have to arrest him so dramatically at the airport so that you create this unnecessary conversation in the news as if there's some instability somewhere one way or the other? And those who say that make the point that, in fact, Yoko has started already investigating this matter they talk about, and Miracles has appeared with them, and he has spoken with them, and so it's ongoing investigations, so that if you need him again, you can call him back. If you want to put a stop on him, you can tell him that bring your passport. You can do anything that's not dramatic. Now, why do you have to be dramatic about it? This is very interesting, and this is our editorial. Forgive us if the editorial gets too harsh, because it could get there. It's politics, it's passion, it's society, and it's important that we state what we have to state at the fourth estate of the realm. So let's take our editorial montage. We come back and we hear the story. Welcome again to the show and to this all-important editorial. So what's the story? The MPP's mouthpiece and incoming communications director of the party, who has been communicating for the party since before the 2024 election and up until now, who has been the thorn in the flesh of the NDC. Without Miracles Aboagye, many of the cocoa crisis that the NDC faced would have been completely watered down. Miracles went into the cocoa farms and had people in the cocoa farms, and he spoke to the cocoa farmers directly, and the whole Ghana got to know the plight of cocoa farmers. He is a cocoa crashi by reason of standing with cocoa farmers. So that was something Miracles has been doing. And then he's also on the tangent of exposing the NDC here and there. But that is really his job. He is the formal spokesperson of the MPP, and he was also the spokesperson of the Mahamadou Bawumia campaign for the internal elections that re-elected Bawumia to become the MPP's flag bearer for the 2028 election. So Miracles is quite well known, and he is a thorn in the flesh of the NDC, whichever way you look at it. Then one day we heard that last Sunday, we heard that he had come from a trip abroad, and then he was arrested there at the airport, and all hell broke loose. As I speak to you now, thankfully, Miracles has been released. The bail condition has been met, but this is where the story begins. So let's take it from the Fourth Republic, okay? We came to the Fourth Republic in 1993, 7th of January, with an election in November 1992, coming from 10 or 11 years of a coup military junta led by Flight Lieutenant Rawlings. There was one-time arrest during the military infrastructure. The Kwesi Pratt Jr., I keep saying, says that there were 340-something people who went missing. People were killed indiscriminately because they were suspected to be opposed to the regime, etc. But Flight Lieutenant Rawlings then metamorphosed into a civilian president. The period of 1993 up to 2000 was better than the period before. Of course, we have to say a big gratitude to the institutions like the Ghana Bar Association, like the Supreme Court of Ghana, very distinguished constitutional lawyers who kept pounding at the court and delivering our freedoms in some of the most important cases. MPP versus IGP, for instance, determined that we can have freedom of demonstration. MPP versus GBC determined that the state broadcaster will afford equal time to all political parties. J.H. Mensah and the Attorney General determined that a president who has won a second term must still submit his ministers to Parliament. All of these major constitutional cases, and the most biggest one of them was the 31st December case, in which the Supreme Court held that the NDC government cannot use state funds to celebrate the military coup of 31st December. So all of these things happened during the Rawlings era. And we have to give credit to Rawlings, shouldn't we? He permitted it. Well, he could have fought it and he would have lost the fight, but Ghana would have probably lost more. There will be people who would have been dead and all of that. But thanks to Rawlings and his principal advisors, Justice D.F. Annan, who was Speaker of Parliament, Obed Asamoah, who was Attorney General, all of these people prevailed on Rawlings to accept very bitter Supreme Court decisions against him. So that brought us to the year 2000 when John Kufuor became president. When Kufuor became president, there were some incidents like that. I refer, for instance, to the Chachu Chikata case. In the Chachu Chikata case, Mr. Chikata was being prosecuted for causing financial loss to the state, which was the new law in those days, causing financial loss to the state. Now the new one is causing fear and panic. Causing financial loss to the state was a law that was procured by the NDC majority parliament, which would be the second parliament of the Fourth Republic. Now, the causing financial loss to the state was used to prosecute Mr. Chikata, and people were unhappy that Mr. Chikata was, for instance, arrested in church on a Sunday. People were unhappy that Chikata had won a Supreme Court decision and the review overturned the decision, etc., etc. So the Chikata situation represented a kind of dark spot in the Kufuor jurisprudence at the time and the justice delivery system. Beyond that, all the people who were tried under the Kufuor administration, I refer to those who were tried under Quality Grain, for instance. I refer to Richard Kwame Pepra. Kwame Pepra, when he was tried under Quality Grain, was never incarcerated on any bail conditions of the sort. That never happened. Kwame Pepra was never incarcerated on any bail conditions or something like that. I used to go to Kwame Pepra's house in Labone as a reporter when he was on trial, and nobody incarcerated him. The only time they went to jail was upon a court decision, when the court decided that they found foul of the law after they had their day in court, their lawyers had spoken. It was only then that they went to jail. Kwame Pepra, unfortunately, Victor Salome, may he rest in peace, George Sipayanki, that very eloquent lawyer at the Ministry of Finance, where all went to jail. Dan Aboagye, unfortunately, also went to jail. But in the process of the trial, nobody arrested them from their home and then incarcerated them without granting bail, etc. So that didn't happen, and that's a matter of public record. Okay, so the Kufuor era ends. Then we come to the Professor Mills era. Professor Mills era, the only big story was about the expenditure that had occurred under Ghana at 50. So there was a commission of inquiry. The Ghana at 50 committee had been chaired by Charles Reku Brobe, that very distinguished engineer, who is still very happily with us. Dr. Brobe, happy to know that you are still with us. I hope that you are watching. And Brobe chaired the Ghana at 50 committee. Brobe and some of the people who worked on the Ghana at 50 committee were hauled before a committee of inquiry. Incidentally, the committee was led by Maretta Brew Apia Opong, who later became Attorney General under President Mahama. They were all successful at the committee. The committee hearings was broadcast live on television because Professor Mills was interested in transparency, and that happened, and it was okay. Nothing happened. Then came the President Mahama administration. The vice president, who had suddenly on 24th July 2012 become president because of the unfortunate passing of Professor Mills. John Mahama held the country together that night. We were all at the Parliament House when he was sworn in. During the John Mahama period, there was nothing like that. It's understandable because John Mahama inherited the Mills administration. So that's understandable. So the first 4 years of John Mahama. Then came the very crucial 8 years of the Akufo-Addo administration. 8 years of Akufo-Addo. Now, what happened? Several people were prosecuted. I still remember that the current Attorney General, Dominic Ayini, he was Deputy Attorney General. And the current Minister for Energy, John Jinapo, at that time, he was a Deputy Minister for Power. And the Minister for Power, Kwabena Donko, they were all visited by police in some, difficult circumstances. It was like a raid of sorts. The police had gone to their homes early in the morning. On that morning, as a news reporter, at 7 o'clock, I was in Kwabena Donko's house at Spintex Road. And he told me what had happened. The police had come in there and they had taken hold of his laptop and all his mobile phones, and they took them away. They said they were going to search his emails to see what conversations he had with agents of a company called Ameri. Ameri was an energy company that had delivered some badges to Ghana, something like that. The Akufo-Addo people suspected that some corruption had occurred during the Ameri process. So, yes, they took the laptops. But they did not invite him to BNI and put him in the Yoko cells. They did not put him in BNI cells. They just took his laptop and his phones, which were later returned to him. The same situation happened in John Jinapo's house, unfortunately. He was visited by police in the morning. You can understand His children were about just waking up to go to school, and then they find policemen in their house, and they were quite brutal, and they said, bring this, bring that. So they took the laptops from John Jinapor as well. The same thing happened to Kwabena Donko. All three of them, Dominic Ayini, John Jinapor, and Kwabena Donko. But nobody invited them and incarcerated them with onerous bail conditions. That certainly didn't happen in the Akufo-Addo era. Subsequently, other people were prosecuted. Current Finance Minister K.S.L. Ato-Forson was prosecuted. In the case of Ato-Forson, the court documents were actually sent to him in Parliament. Nobody even invited Ato-Forson to come in. The court documents were sent to him in Parliament, and they were all given self-recognizance bail. Collins Dauda on Sagleme. He was never incarcerated and said that you can't meet onerous bail conditions, and so you have to be incarcerated. That never happened. The trial was allowed to proceed because, you see, no agency of state has the power to be incarcerating people. It doesn't work like that. No agency of state has the power to do that. They can investigate, and then they have to go to court and allow the person's freedoms, if it has to be curtailed by a court of competent jurisdiction. Here in Ghana, over the last Fourth Republic, we have had a faith in our courts. If you read our book, the 77 Stories of the Fourth Republic, you will see that we attribute Ghana's sustainability to the work of the Supreme Court and the Superior Court of Judicature. That's how it's been. So everybody trusts the court in Ghana. I hope the trust is still there. But everyone trusts the court in Ghana. We all saw the drama around Kwabena Dubois. Now see what's happening in court. So in the Akufo-Addo 8 years, which is just the immediate past, nobody, no single person was invited and then incarcerated and kept in. The only example would be the NEC Deputy General Secretary at the time, Koko Anyidoho. Mr. Anyidoho had professed publicly that there was going to be a coup d'etat to remove Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo from government. And so the police felt that with that kind of menseria, Anyidoho needed to be kept within police custody. And what happened? The NDC supporters massed up, led by John Dramani Mahama, former president as he then was, Betty Moldidrisu, former attorney general as she then was. They went to the CID. The CID met them, spoke nicely, and handed over Koko Anyidoho to them on the promise that Mr. Anyidoho was going to be very well behaved. That's what happened. Nobody who was on trial was given onerous bail terms, bring this, bring that, you can't bring it, and then we keep you in. Everyone respected the national constitution's 48-hour threshold for people to be dealt with and then to be released for the courts to continue its process. So that's really what happened. What is happening now is so dangerous. And it's okay for people to be happy about it. And it's okay. I saw some journalists I really respect, a lady who works abroad now, posting something on social media, very excited that Miracles Aboagye had been arrested because she's also the communicator. She was happy that Miracles Aboagye has been arrested. I think that's crass behavior. It just shows that people have very low IQ. You can't be a journalist and be happy that somebody has been arrested and given onerous bail conditions. But anyway, this is Ghana and this is the world. This is society. And so people are different. But we have to structure this thing in such a way that it does not affect anybody negatively. Read social media these days, and you will see some people writing saying that, well, if this is what is going to happen, then people should be ready. Next time another government is in power, they will be asking for the cross of Jesus Christ from Calvary before people will be given bail. They'll be asking for the thorns that was on Jesus' head before people will be given bail. It sounds funny, but the way things are going, that could happen. We don't want a retaliatory politics in our Fourth Republic. We have long moved away from such wanton abuse of human rights and such massive abuse of power. If you look at the 1992 Constitution, the most powerful person is the president. And you look at Article 58, 5.8 of the Constitution, and it says that the executive authority of Ghana shall vest in the president. But there's a caveat. It said that executive authority shall be exercised in accordance with the provisions of the 1992 Constitution. So even the president with all his powers, he has limits to the provisions of the 1992 Constitution. Iyoko may arrest somebody on discretion, but if you go to Article 296 of the Constitution, you will find that discretion itself is limited. The Constitution prescribes that discretion should not be capricious, it should not be personal, and all of that. And these things are happening. You arrest Miracles Aboagye and you keep him in for 3 days and give him some onerous bail conditions, 50 million and all of that. When you are not the court, you cannot make a final determination over whether he is guilty of the offenses you are thinking about or not. The forum that can make that conclusion is the court. and yes, you don't get the court involved, and as an investigative body, you do these things, you are in clear violation of Article 296. Now, when the Constitution says that the president is limited by the provisions of the Constitution in exercise of his executive authority, what that means is that the president may exercise his discretion, but that discretion is also very limited to the provisions of the Constitution. And when we say the provisions of the Constitution, we actually mean the letter of the Constitution and the spirit of the Constitution. What is happening these days is in clear violation of both the letter and the spirit of the 1992 Constitution. And we can't sit back and say nothing about it, because it will come and hunt everyone. People we know, people we love, people we don't know, who are all Ghanaians. Why are we doing this to ourselves? The matter gets very serious, viewers, when now you consider that two people sitting in John Dramani Mohammed's cabinet, Idrisu Haruna, one of them who is a minister for education. Idrisu Haruna is a seasoned politician these days. Idrisu Haruna is a guy who is about mid to late 50s. He's been doing politics from the time he was 30, late 20s, up until today. He's a member of parliament. He was former majority leader. Now, Idrisu Haruna has had cause to complain about these bail things that are happening, and he spoke publicly about it. See this video, viewers. See the video of Haruna Idrisu complaining about onerous bail conditions that members of his government are dishing out to the opponents of the politics. Have a look at this video.
In Ghana today, we have seen excesses from the police, excesses from the court, excesses from Yoko, denying persons bail and using bail as punishment for accused person. That is not law. It is tried knowledge and tried law that don't deny an accused person bail or ask an accused person to pay excessively as a punishment to the accused person if you uphold the right to a fair trial and uphold the right to innocence at trial, that every person is presumed innocent. So I expect that in Ghana today, we must end the high-handedness and excessiveness in matters relating to bail and its denial and its charges.
So you saw the video. It's not just Idrisu Haruna, but this other video I'm going to show you is very, very critical and very important. The reason why it's important is that the Minister for Interior, who has control over all of these state agencies within the realm of Ghana, within the jurisdiction of Ghana, the Minister for Interior has control over them. This Minister for Interior is complaining. That means that the matter we are dealing with is more serious. It means there are people who are below the authority of the Minister for Interior who are doing this, arrest people and incarcerate them and give them onerous bail conditions, the heads of these institutions of investigation and all of that. They all work below the Interior Minister. And this is what they are doing. It means that somebody is personalizing these things. It's a personal agenda. People are trying to satisfy themselves. They are on their very personal thing, chasing people they don't like and using their authority as a Yoko boss or whatever to fight people they don't like or they have some problem with, which is outside the realm of work, outside the realm of politics. As human beings, we can have problems with each other. But the framers of the law always say that you cannot bring your personal vendetta into these things, because if you do that, and if that's what we've been doing, if America was doing that for 250 years, there'll be no democracy at all, because everyone comes and is able to vent his personal vendetta by using the authority of state, which belongs to all Ghanaians, and give it to some people because they won election to run for 4 years or 8 years or 12 years or whatever it is. If you take that authority and you do these things, then there could be repercussions. Here is the Minister for Interior complaining in Parliament to the Speaker of Parliament that he is very worried about these bail conditions that are being used to harass people, particularly political opponents all over. Listen to Mubarak Muntaka, who is the Minister for Interior. Listen.
I've been working with the Minister of Justice and Attorney General in the constitutional amendment that is currently ongoing, that we should make remand very restrictive, because currently it is massively abused. With the least provocation, they say they remanded somebody. You go to police, they remand people anyhow. Sometimes they give terrible bail conditions which people are not able to meet. We want to take the opportunity in this constitutional amendment to restrict this unnecessary demand. remand. I'm sure if we're able to get these three things working together, it is going to help us to decongest our prisons and also ourselves and make life a little more better.
So that was the video of Mubarak Muntaka, the interior minister, who finds himself helpless because institutions under him are doing something that is not from him. And I believe that he wanted Parliament to know that he's a law-abiding citizen and these things that are happening are not coming from him. That creates a very, very serious problem. It creates a very, very serious problem here. It's not good at all. It creates a real difficulty, a very serious problem. The interior minister has lost control. He's telling Parliament that let's pass laws. So why are we doing this? Who is in charge? What is happening? Even if it's Richard Japa in charge, Richard Japa will know that when he was being prosecuted, nothing of the sort was done. He was allowed to go anywhere he wants to go, including visiting Supreme Court judges and meeting people. Nobody incarcerated him and asked him to bring onerous bail conditions. That was not done in the Akufo-Addo era. And we have moved this democracy now to the 7th and 8th Parliament. Why is somebody taking us back? And why do I say somebody is taking us back? They are taking us back because if you look critically, a government changes. It could be retaliation. We all hope that there will be no retaliation so that we can move forward. But human beings are human beings, and when pain is in people and they have power, you can't stop that. So we should stop these things because today is X, tomorrow is Y. Let us build a democracy that's a competition of ideas, and let's compete with ideas so that the better idea wins, so that Ghana is successful for it. Why are we doing these things? You go and catch Miracles Aboagye, and then you want to show him where power lies. Don't you know that tomorrow Miracles Aboagye may have power? Miracles Aboagye could be interior minister tomorrow. Miracles Aboagye could be the head of Iyoko tomorrow. Miracles Aboagye could be the head of BNI tomorrow. It's political appointment that is appointed by the person who Ghanaians have entrusted the government with. And if the person Ghanaians have entrusted the government with so trust Miracles Aboagye and then he wants to make him Iyoko boss, should Miracles go there and start looking for the people who arrested me at the airport because they all work for the government and they will still be working for the government by the time the next government comes, and then tells them that I'll teach you a lesson, and then teaches him a lesson to affect the person's family, children, and all of that. Children in Ghana, 7 years, 8 years, they shouldn't have those problems that their father is in a political situation, and that if somebody has stolen money, by all means prosecute. Akufo-Addo did that. Akufo-Addo won some of the prosecutions. He lost some of the prosecutions. Kufuor won some of the prosecutions. He lost some of the prosecutions. But that is the way it goes in a democracy. The government can prosecute, but it's the courts that makes the ultimate decision. So people must understand that the courts are sacrosanct, and we have to hold them in that esteem and stop giving the court power to state institutions because of personal vendetta, and then they go and incarcerate this person, incarcerate that person. That's very wrong. Some people may feel they have power, so they don't want to listen. But these are the important lessons of democracy. And we are not alone on this matter. As I've showed you, we are with at least 2 cabinet ministers sitting in John Mohammed's cabinet who have decided to voice out. There may be other cabinet ministers in John Mohammed's cabinet who don't want to voice out, but they think the same way. And I can assure you that there are many lawyers who belong to NDC who think the same way. So those bad nuts that are giving the government and our democracy a bad name should be held accountable, and they will be held accountable, and they should be responsible for the things that they are doing. It's very bad. We hope that we will not have this again, as many people are talking, as the interior minister has gone to parliament to speak, as the education minister has spoken. We hope that these things will end. It is very, very crucial that these things end. This is our editorial in support of free speech, in support of constitutionalism, in support of society, and in support of democracy.